So, as our next speaker, please join me in welcoming Mr. Sandushan Ranaweera, who is a member of Higher Degree Research Committee, which is responsible for advising academic board on higher degree by research frameworks. He holds a first-class BC Engineering degree from University of Moratuwa and is currently pursuing his PhD at the University of Technology, Sydney, Australia. We are excited to have him with us to share his expertise and insights. Over to you, sir.
I'm audible. And can you guys see me?
Yes, yes, we
Yeah.
can hear.
So let me share my screen. So okay, so yeah, I hope you can see my screen. Let me share my slides as well. Uh, Give me a minute again. Yeah, yeah. So can you see my screen and the slides? Can you see this my slides right now? The first slide.
Yes.
Yes, we see.
Yeah. So first of all, good evening to you all. So and thank you for inviting me for this event. And also, like, it is glad to talk on the same event as as with Dr. Pratap Singh because he was my undergraduate supervisor during my undergraduate research date. So I'm truly grateful for his advices and he did a superb talk today and a lot of information has been shared. So in my presentation, I will mostly focus on the various pathways that you can take and the various processes, mostly on the application process and how you need to apply for these higher degree pathways. So when we're looking at the higher degree pathways and the graded scholarship option, because in the previous talk also Dr. Pratap has mentioned there are certain tuition fees to be paid. So I will just mention out few options that you can take. Though there are several options as masters by coursework and masters by research, and also you can pursue doctor of philosophy degrees, and also there are something called professional doctor degrees. So there are kind of like doctor of engineering kind of professional doctor degrees. So when it comes to the scholarships, specifically, I talk the situation inside Australia. It is very rare that you can get a full scholarship for coursework degree, but usually you can get some sort of partial scholarships. Maybe in the other countries, I mean, the situation might be the same. Like you can get around, I would say, maybe 20% or 30% of scholarships for your tuition fees in your coursework degrees. But sometimes they impose some conditions upon those scholarships. Let's say you have to maintain, let's say, more than 80% grades or more than B plus or some sort of like performance criteria or on your degree to that scholarships. And and also there's another pathway that you can take if you willing to do a master's degree, which takes around 2 years. You can take master's by research. So it can be like MPhil or Embrace or any other research type of master degree. In those degrees, actually, full scholarships available both for tuition and living allowance, basically inside Australia. But again, those opportunities are, I would say, pretty much less because I was in the most of the committees in the faculty level and the university level inside in my university, the UTS, and also I think the situation is same across other universities in Australia, probably others in the UK as well, because UK has a similar structure as Australia as well when it comes to research scholarships. So in master by research, what would happen is like when they allocate the scholarship, they allocate pretty much less number of scholarships for masters by research. So it doesn't mean that there are no scholarship, but there are, but they are rare than the PhD scholarship. Of course, PhD you can get full scholarships for tuition and living allowance. So basically, in the Australia, the situation is your entire tuition fee is covered, and then if you get the living allowance, it is tax free. So basically, I will again I will explain that more on those scholarship in the next slide. And professional doctoral degrees, they are raw full scholarship and tuition, but it is pretty much rare because those degrees are kind of because I don't have much experience with that one. So and also it is pretty much rare because I think in the Australia in UTS, actually, I haven't heard much about those degrees, but it is pretty much rare. So if you're interested in pursuing a professional degree, then also you can take that part. But I think it has some sort of more advanced admission requirement and stuff. So I just mentioned there because just to mention a few career paths that you can take, and also there are some diploma pathways and some other pathways as well. But these are the most common, or I would say most established highest degree pathways that you can take after your graduation. And also there are another thing that I need to mention here. There are something called joint degree programs. It is where you can get a degree from several universities because sometimes the usual in traditional ways you can get degree from only one university. But if you opt to for a joint degree program, there are some degree programs that you can study at one or two or more universities at once. Basically, let's say if you need to interest more into, let's say, semiconductor engineering, because there are now a lot of Australian universities have partnered with Taiwanese universities, so then you can work in the top Taiwanese companies such as TSMC, and also you can study at Australian universities such as UTS or University of Sydney or Melbourne or anything, any university, and then apart by using these partnerships you can get the both experience, because if you go to Taiwan you can get the top silicon chip industry, because the TSMC the world leading in chip manufacturing. So you can get there and get an experience, and also there are a lot of manufacturing happening out there. And also there are several partnerships with US universities as well. So I think it's a good option because I didn't much aware about my graduate time. There are something called joint degree programs, but if you can apply for such a one, so then it will make a more flexible door for you. So then if you need to explore some sort of a subject area, but it has, let's say, two or three several countries, then you can maybe a joint degree program would be a good solution for you. Sometimes if you like to go to Australia, but you need to study the some industry in Taiwan, so then you can work out a good joint degree program to help fulfilling that one. But it is an option. But and also those partnerships are mostly in research, not much in coursework. And also full scholarships and living allowances are available for those degrees as well, because there are multiple universities are participating. So usually both universities are funding those degree programs. So then you can, whenever you're spending at one university, your expenses are funded by that university. When you are spending at other university, that university will fund you for your living expenses and so forth. So it will be a good option if you can consider that one as well. Yeah. So in the slide, actually, I just mentioned that what you need for the applying, but I just not go into much detail because previously Dr. Pratap has give you a much lengthier detail in that one. So basically, you required to have your transcript and degree certificate, and also IELTS and TOEFL and PTE. Like it depends on the university and country. But when it comes to Australia, the visa and the university application, as I remember, because if you are, I think most of the people are graduated from University of Moratuwa, because our University of Moratuwa provide a bachelor degree or 4-year bachelor degree, and our medium of instruction throughout our degrees entirely in English medium. So all our lectures and assessment conducted in English medium. So most of the universities allow if you can submit a letter from our university's examination division that's saying that this degree is conducted entirely in English medium. You can waive off the requirement of IELTS, TOEFL, or PTE, even from your visa as well. Because I did TOEFL, but when I submitted applying to my UTS and coming over there, I just submitted my transcript and that letter. Then I don't need to submit the TOEFL score, although I get high score from TOEFL, but they didn't request me a TOEFL score because there's an option that you can select what is the evidence. Because purpose of this English test is to make sure that you have the ability to pursue a higher level degree uh, with entirely in English medium. You have the required language proficiency, but but when you have already completed a degree or educational qualification for your degree entirely in English medium, then it will fulfill that requirement. And GRE, as Dr. Pratap mentioned, is most of the time the US universities currently waived off that one. I think also there are some Singapore universities such as National University of Singapore and NTU still I think they're requiring GRE. and also there are some UK universities as well. There are some universities still requiring, but most of the universities are now not requiring GRE. And also it worth to mention that all of these English tests and GRE cost around, I would say, 180 US dollars. I don't remember the exact amount, but I think it is increased a bit now than in nowadays. And also you require the research proposal, especially if you are applying for the universities in Australia. First step that you have to do is you have to directly contact the supervisor, and then you have to take a interview with him. If they are happy to supervise you, they will let you know, okay, I will happy to supervise you. It will act as a kind of, I would say, confirmation of the uh, confirmation of supervisor agreement, or in usually we call it as EOI, or expression of interest. Because in Australia, usually if you apply for master's by research or PhD, your application won't be processed without the supervisor agreement. So you need to have that one or more supervisors agree to supervise you inside that university. Because the first step in the application process is actually the supervisor need to initiate your application by submitting an EOI to the university. So if a supervisor is not if you don't have contact, if you haven't contacted the supervisor, your application may not be even be processed, because you can still submit an application, but it will not be processed most of the time, because supervisor agreement is a key in the Australia. But in US, the situation is bit different. You can apply directly to universities, and they will admit to the schools, and you will given 2 years, mostly 2 years. There you can apply some sort of master kind of degree program, and then you can choose your supervisor. But in Australia, you have to pick a supervisor first before coming to the university, because supervisor is the one who uh, actually initiate your application process in most of the cases. And also, if you are applying masters by coursework, or if you don't have a scholarship for either of your degrees, usually you have to show money, it show some money or deposits to the visa application, in your visa application, because they need to make sure that you have enough money to cover those expenses. Although you can do some part-time work and earn some money after you arrive in the country, but you have to show some amount. That amount is usually equal to the 1 year of tuition fees and 1 year of living expenses within that country. So you have to show that amount. It will roughly approximate to 200 lakhs in Sri Lankan rupees. And also you need some sort of statement of purpose for your visa as well. So what is your purpose of migrating for your education, whether it is, and also your plans to go back to your motherland. You have to tell some fairy tale sometimes, like you intend to go back, but sometimes you actually need to go back, but you need to decide after you come. But so that is one thing that you need. And also you need to purchase health insurance as well, because when they apply for visa, they look for you have a valid health insurance within that country. Otherwise, they won't let you in. Sometimes the health insurance is covered by your university scholarship, and sometimes you have to pay for that insurance. And also, this exit procedure can change mostly from country to country, because within a certain country, the procedure remains more or less same between universities, but there are certain differences. But changes are mostly from country to country. So if you are targeting Australia, then mostly the the processes between the universities might be the same. If you're targeting US, and the US university process more or less will be the same, but there are certain differences, like their requirement of test scores and their requirement of statement purposes and the format of CVs and these kind of little bit differences, but the rough structure, the overall structure would be much similar. And now I come to the some important aspect in the financials. So what are the scholarships types available? So basically, when it comes to the scholarship, there are two types of scholarship that you need. One thing is that to cover your tuition fees, and other thing for your living allowance. So tuition fee, as I previously mentioned, is mostly partial for coursework degrees and mostly full for research degrees. So my advice is, if your tuition fee is won't be covered fully from your scholarship, don't go there, because usually you don't need to pay for research degree. So that's the bottom line. So if you cannot secure full scholarship for a research degree, it is a good choice to not to go, because you can all there are a lot of opportunities that you can secure a full scholarship for research degrees uh, in many countries. And the living allowance scholarships usually don't provide for coursework degrees. but usually provide with research degrees. So with the living allowance, actually, when you getting living allowance, it is may not be a pretty much high value. So you need to make your calculation right whether these living allowances is enough to cover your living expenses. The area that you like to go. Let's say if you are going to US and you need to look for a certain city that you like to go. So let's say if you're going to New York, the living expenses is different from the living expenses in Texas. So you have to look for exact city and what are the living expenses in the particular area, and you have to get a informed decision that whether that is living allowance is enough or you have some backup plans to cover uh, the additional need of money to cover your living expenses. Because otherwise, if you go without that calculation, then you will be in trouble. And also, some scholarships also cover health insurance as well. So you have to look for that as well because there are some opportunities that you can cover your health insurance. Sometimes they cover your air ticket too. So it depends on the scholarship as well. There are different funding sources of the scholarship. So sometimes the scholarships are funded by government. So then sometimes you have to apply separately for some government websites to get that scholarship. Or sometimes you have to just apply to the university, such as in Australia, there are some scholarship scheme called RTP or research training program where you have to apply to the university and the fund is provided by the government. And also there are university scholarships where the universities providing the scholarships in a competitive manner. And also, mostly there are other type of scholarships are supervisors funded scholarship because usually most of the supervisors have research grants. So using this grant, they can fund you your scholarship. So most of the time in Australia, if you contact the supervisor and he tells you, I have a grant, I would like to sponsor you, like your scholarship is like automatic. I would say it's 100% granted because then because he has the fund, he is the one who made the decision. And also, even though the government and university scholarships are, I would say, competitive, but in the actual scenario, because I know some bit of internal mechanisms as well, like these scholarships are tied to supervisors as well, because inside the university, they have some certain procedures that allocating those scholarship for a certain supervisors. Usually at the start of the year, they will let you know the supervisors in this year through competitive scholarships, you can take two students or one student. So then what they do when the scholarship round comes, they can choose what two students that they're going to take. So in Australia, most of the time, if the supervisor agreed you to take for a certain scholarship, then it is most probably guaranteed that you can secure a scholarship because the most decision is with the supervisor. Because sometimes there are competitive pools because some universities just centrally allocate scholarships, but usually what happens is they allocate the scholarship for a certain faculty or certain school because they need to ensure the fairness that scholarships are fairly distributed. So whenever you choose in the supervisor, if you can choose some kind of high enough, like senior enough supervisor, then it will increase your chances to getting a scholarship because usually some sort of senior supervisors have high amount of grants, so then they can take you in. They have more research opportunities. And also, like what are the chances for the scholarship? The main your GPA, and if you have some local or international ratings such as competition wins, it will increase your chances. And also, if you have research publication, it will increase your chances as well. And more or less, your extracurricular activities, because it is highly important. Because if you have some extracurricular activity, it will increase your chances, specifically when it comes to the competitive scholarship, because they have some criteria regarding that as well. And also make sure that those extracurricular activities and your leadership experience will help you when you come to here, because it will help you to make your professional network grow inside these universities. Because make sure when you come over there for a foreign country where you are entirely new to the environment, you are entirely new to the university, and those experiences will help you to engage in more extracurricular activities and grow your professional network within your new university, because it is not about being alone the few years there, but you have to grow your professional network in the country that you are migrating or going about as well, because that's where you can get more career opportunities after graduating. Because if you don't have that professional network by the time of your graduation, then it is very hard to uh, I would say find a employment or career opportunity after your degree. And also, there are some scholarships. Let's say if you get one scholarship or you attended without a scholarship for the degree, regardless it is a research degree or a postdoc degree, based on the performance inside the degree, also there are another scholarship opportunities as well. And also, you don't need to stick with your original scholarship. There are certain scholarship opportunities that you can apply after you enroll to universities as well, because there are a lot of opportunities. There are some sort of top up scholarships. It means like they will give you some additional living allowance or additional some benefit on top of your uh, original scholarship. Or there are sometimes you can change your scholarships after you admit it. So there are possible because there are a lot of different funding schemes, and I may not I will not say it is easy, but it is possible that you can apply for the scholarship even after you admit to the university. And this is very important, like factors to check when choosing university or a country or a supervisor. The first thing is ask people who attended the university. I write in the fastness, it is really important. When you're asking about a supervisor or a university, don't ask. I think it is okay to ask a current student of that supervisor, but it is always asked to ask from a past student because they can express their open opinion whether they what are their goods and what are their bads. Because current students tend to say only the goods because kind of some sort of their because supervisor has some sort of say in their progression of the degree. But if you can ask from a past student, they don't have a lot of bond with their lot of say. Supervisor don't have much of a say about them after their graduation. So it's better to ask from the past student than in the current student. So that is one advice that I can give to you. And also you have to research about the background of the supervisors, both academically and how good they are as humans. Like don't judge them as if they can be pretty senior supervisors and they have a lot of awards. But if they are not good as humans, you will be in trouble and you will be strictly pressurized. So make sure when you are migrating, make sure that your supervisors are good as human. They are free and they are flexible and you can discuss openly with them. But if they're too strict, then you will be pressurized, especially if you are in a research degree. And also, uh, my advice is like don't be afraid to pick a foreign supervisor, because from my experience, foreign supervisors are far more relaxed than Sri Lankan supervisors, because Sri Lanka has a, I would say, tough culture or strict culture, because from the school age, we are used to have our teachers to be too strict, and our lecturers as well. Sometimes in the university culture, we have some, I would say, kind of toxic culture in our education. So even us, we have some that have toxic culture inside our genes. So even if you pick a Sri Lankan supervisor, they more or less have some this toxic behavior inside their genes. So don't be thinking that okay, I need to pick a supervisor from only from Sri Lanka. From my experience, because I work with many professors and many academics in UTS, because I presenting many committees, and what I understood is like the foreign supervisors are far more relaxed than our Sri Lankan supervisors. So they are too good. Like they are too flexible and they are too down to earth. Even you can call by name, because here you even to me you call me sir. Like even uh, Dr. Pratap as well, because Dr. Pratap one time I remember when I do my final year presentation, he removed the doctor part from my presentation because they just tell by name. So that's how the foreign countries are operating. Even for the vice chancellor, you can told by their name. They say vice chancellor is John. We don't take call him Professor John. We just call him John, right? So that's how that countries operated. Even the small kids in schools, they can talk to their principal by name. So if you pick a supervisor who are like grown inside that sort of a culture, he will be more relaxed and he will be give more respect to you, and if he will be more flexible and understanding and appreciate work life balance. Because the biggest plus of choosing a foreign supervisor I see is they highly value your work life balance than Sri Lankan supervisor, because sometimes Sri Lankan supervisors are only considering work, work, work. There are some instances they say you can only do your PhD within the time frame. You cannot take leave, so you cannot even marry sometimes. So there are a lot of dramas going on. So that is one thing. And the other thing is you have to strictly look for the living expenses at tuition fees. So if you get a scholarship, is it possible to cover those living expenses from the scholarship, or you can earn those during part time? So I highly discourage coming for masters doing part time, because it is very hard, because you have to earn a lot of money unless you are going to some topmost place such as MIT, or I would say kind of lifetime opportunity. But if you can go for such a prestigious university, certainly you can secure a scholarship. So I highly encourage you to, uh, if you plan to come for a master's by coursework just to migrate, don't choose to do part time. Only do that's kind of a degree if you need to migrate. Just do it like if you really love to learn, but for some reason, if your GPA is low or your academic qualifications are not too good to secure a scholarship, then you can do that one as a last resort. But don't go at that first place, because I see many Sri Lankan people first try to go masters by coursework, but they have the potential to go for masters by research or PhD degree. Because in Australia, if you come to countries like Australia, most people are migrating. The difference between a master's and a PhD is only 1 year. But the huge difference in terms of scholarship is you can get a living allowance as well, apart from a tuition fee scholarship. So imagine that you are, because if you do a master's by doing part time to earn your tuition fee and living expenses, sometimes you have to work, I would say, 18 to 20 hours per day. So it is not sustainable. So take it as last resort, and please plan your expenses before you come. If you're about to graduate, I highly advise you to, I would say, do your job or industry job of 1 year, at least 1.5 year, 1 or 1.5 year, and then choose, then come back, because then you have some money in hand and then you are more financially secure. If you just migrate after complete your degree, then you don't have any money in your hand, and then you will be struggled as well. So that is one advice from my side. And yeah, so that is one thing. And also research about the community, whether the communities are racist or not, because sometimes there are some part of the world that we are discriminated by our skin color, because they are, the white and black and kind of like bullshit. So, and also whether they are SL communities or not, and also whether these communities are safe, because there are some areas that are crime levels are high, so you don't need to go there. So do that research as well, because if there are SL communities, you can enjoy the SL food and SL culture, and even because when you migrate, if there, let's say you don't have to SL food, then you have to eat some foreign food like Chinese or Ethiopian. We don't know, right? So make sure that even there are no SL communities, make sure that you can at least get your foods like groceries, like if you can get some Sri Lankan foods over there, because that we are used to. But if you're okay with foreign food, that's another story. But make sure that there are kind of like community support over there as well. And in short, plan ahead before going abroad. Don't just going abroad, let's say, okay, I need to go. Don't just go in that way. Plan ahead always, and make sure that you plan everything uh, before that you go abroad, from the finances and everything that you go. And also make sure that it is good that if you can find someone who know, or at least some Sri Lankan or senior colleague within that country or university before you go. That is highly helpful. You can always find, I think, for that, LinkedIn is a pretty much good tool, because using that LinkedIn network, you can easily find who are the people working inside these countries and this university, and then you can contact them afterwards. So that is the my last advice to you guys. And I know within this time frame, I cannot give you much detail about that one, but I hope I don't overrun my time. And finally, I would say thank you for listening and inviting both. And good luck you all on your, if you choose to do higher studies, I wish you good luck to not only to secure admission, but secure scholarships as well. And if you have any question that you can ask via the chat, or you can simply unmute your mic. And also I will share my contact detail with the organizing committee, so they can share them with you all after the event. So if you have any question, you can contact me afterwards as well. And also I have one more detailed session about the PhD application process in UTS and Australia. So I did some time back. So I will share that recording with the organizing committee as well, so you can look at that as well. Yeah. So if you have any question that you can ask now. Okay, I got a question. Uh, what do you think there are the biggest opportunities and challenges for students pursuing global education today? Yeah, so I would say the biggest challenge is, I would say, kind of financial, because Sri Lanka has been a poor country, because the living expenses and the expenses are kind of high in this foreign country. That is the biggest challenge. But if you're trying to move some countries like, let's say, Europe, let's say Switzerland or Sweden, the other challenge will arise like the language barrier. Because if you try to, let's say, move to Japan or Korea or Taiwan, because there are universities out there as well, even Singapore, because the local communities are not speaking English. So if you don't have a local community speaking English, then it will be a huge language barrier because you have to learn an entire new language. So that is one thing. And the other thing is some even in some countries, especially some countries like let's say Germany, or there are some part of the world that you have to face some discrimination issues due to your skin color because we have some black skin color. So that are the challenges. And on the positive side, I would say because in the Sri Lanka, the free education system is pretty much strong. So if you complete the free education in Sri Lanka and move abroad, you are pretty much strong than most of the foreign student in this country. Because from my experience, like what I understood was like in Sri Lanka, we get I would say huge benefit from our free education, and our quality of that free education is super good, right? So I actually in if you compare the people from other countries and from people from Sri Lanka after completing degrees, they are way ahead because our thinking abilities, critical thinking abilities is kind of good. So by the potential, we have good potential, and we can easily strive through. And there are a lot of opportunities. So, for example, like after 1 year, myself, I ended up being in the highest committee of the higher research degree. So where the decision that we are taken correspond to the higher degrees by research inside my university as a student representative. So there are a lot of people are there because I think currently one another member is also in the coursework committee as well. He's also Sri Lankan. So side, our potential is pretty much. I don't worry about that. You whether you fall behind or not. If you complete Sri Lankan degree, means you are well ahead than the most of the foreign students. You have huge ability. It doesn't mean that you have the all of the experience. I would say potential wise, Sri Lanka has the heavy potential. Like, and also in here in Australia, pretty much like whenever we say we are from Sri Lanka, they will look at us. Let's say, okay, Sri Lankan people have talent. So that's kind of I would say testament or kind of like belief there, because previous people have do well, and we hope that we can do well as well. So then it will be good trademark and good recognition for you guys as well in the future. So I received two messages. So one is like MSc and PhD. Uh, yeah. So are you interested in research and person good in research kind of thing? Project I have a painting, but I haven't able to get a good. There are a lot of. I think there's one guy. I will answer two questions separately. One guy asked, like, what are the differences between the salary range after completing MSc or a PhD? So I would say in Australia there is not much difference in the industry. Actually, because in the industry actually the salary is a lot higher. I think if you have the talent, you can uh, get the lot of opportunity. But the only thing is they recognize their own education qualification over foreign qualifications. And I think the difference between MSc and PhD mostly matters when you go into the academia, not in the industry. But if you get a PhD, it will help you in some sense when you climb up the ladder, not in the early days of your career, but the end of your career. Uh, because sometimes, let's say if you enter the industry just after bachelor's, let's say people in these countries, like people living in these countries, so then they have some sort of industry experience. If you compare the same age, let's say 2 to 3 years industry experience, while you have done your MSc, so then the salary level of that people may be higher than yours. So it depends. So I think MS and PhD don't do a much of a difference in the industry, but certainly in the academia, PhD is a plus. But having said that, the benefit of the PhD over the other coursework degrees will come later on in your careers when you're moving to positions such as CTO, and when if you need to find a startup. If you're having a PhD, it will be a good plus for you. But in the immediate after completing the PhD, I don't think there is a much of difference, but it can be difference. But it is my opinion on the, I would say, kind of initial experiences and chats I had with different parties in the university and this country. And yeah, so that is the. And one is like I'm reading this. One guy is saying that in short, like he's really interested in research, and he also have a pending patent, but his GPA is kind of low. So I would say don't stop being applying for a PhD if you have a currently have a pending patent. Just write to the supervisors, especially in Australia and also US or any other country. If they have a grant and if they see that if your patent or your area of expertise or your areas is your passion is aligned with their research area, then you can talk to them. And if they are willing to sponsor you, you can go there. So I think if you have a pending patent as an undergrad, that's really brilliant. And I think about even though you haven't much of a GPA, it doesn't mean that you don't have the potential. Sometimes your GPA is low due to the modules such as let's say financial accounting, or sometimes even though I don't know how I get A for that module, but there are different modules. But if you get good grades for a certain area of the subject, then you can pick that for a certain supervisor, you can secure scholarship. So you can do. And if you need to contact me in advance, just contact me. I will share my contact detail with the organizing committee, and please contact me, or I will just put my contact number to the everyone. So then you can contact me as well. I will just put over there. Yeah. So you can contact me after this chat or sometime. So you can. I will also pass my contact detail to the university to the organizing committee as well. And yeah, don't call me sir. And what are the advantages and disadvantages between doing PhD after BSc immediately and doing PhD after 2, 3 years of industry experiences? Uh, there are several things. So if you go to PhD just after bachelor's, it will make your chances higher because you just complete your bachelor's degree. So then the people on the other side won't expect much from your application because you just complete your bachelor degree. But if you try to go to PhD after 2 or 3 years of your graduation, then they will expect you to see more things from your application because you are kind of what do you do these 2 or 3 years? But if you can engage an area pretty much relevant to your higher study area in those 2 3 years, I think it will be a plus as well. But it does matter what you can do. So the best option I would suggest like start applying. Uh, at this stage, let's say where are you at the final year of the university, or just after graduation, start applying and get a scholarship because from applying to get admitted to the university, it will usually take around 1 year. So then you can do an industry job around 1 year or 1.5 year. Then you can go to the PhD degree if you're trying to do a PhD. I think that will be the middle ground. But if you need to go more early, what you can do, you can just apply something advanced or just apply straightforward and then you can join to the university until you get an offer, then you can move to the other university. But I highly recommend to do some get some industry experience before going to the higher studies because it will give you some sort of practical experience rather than being an academic environment. Because what I see is many people, even some lecturers as well, they complete the bachelor's, then do the master, then do the PhD, and then come to the university and teach, and they entirely in academic environment. But what I really like to see is like to have some different experience in the industry. Then you can really evaluate that what is fit for you the most, like whether it is in the industry or whether it is in the academia. So then you have the both experience at the end of your research degree. Then you can choose wisely whether you need to be in academia or in industry because you have the both experiences. But if you just go to the PhD, then you only have inside the university, so you don't know how the industry looks like. So that is the plus point. Even but if I think you have some sort of 6 month experience in industry as industry internship, but it is not enough to actually evaluate the actual industry experience because you need to go it as a full-time engineer and then see how that life looks like. So for me personally, actually I work as 1.5 years. So then I feel like it is not the thing that I like. I like to teach and I like to engage with students, share my knowledge and doing research. For that why I choose my PhD. Because sometimes if you can secure a very good job with a high good salary, sometimes you may feel that okay, this is the thing that I like to do. So then you can go ahead in that career path. So regardless, you can be in the middle ground because just after graduation, you can start applying and you can go to a job and you can work there 1.5 years. And then you can, if you feel like, okay, I need to go to PhD, then you can go because you start applying early. So regardless, if you have some idea to go in higher studies, start applying. And in the meantime, you can go to industry job so that you can have the uh, experience in the both world as well. After completing engineering degree, can I do physics, astronomy-related postgraduate degree abroad? Certainly, yes. The best example is Dr. Uday because he completed degree in electronic and telecommunication engineering and he did his doctoral degree in mathematics. And also, I know several people who do astronaut degrees. I think there are one inside, I think our ENTC department actually. That guy is also from ENTC, but it doesn't mean that people from other departments or the faculties can change the field because bachelor's degree is where you gain the fundamental knowledge of the engineering discipline. So after completing a bachelor's degree, if you like to do some cancer research, you can do that one. Because PhD is exploring the unknown. So it only requires you to have some fundamental knowledge because that fundamental knowledge is mostly common for across all most of the STEM fields. So and also in the first year, even in the Australia, if you can apply for the direct PhD, because in Australia, I forgot to mention that one. Like if you go to the USA, you have to apply for a PA masters, and then you have to go to the PhD, or sometimes those two are bundled. But in Australia, you can without masters, you can directly apply for the PhD. So that's how the Australia system works. Even though you can directly apply for the PhD, it means like you have to start your research from day one. But in Australia, there is in the first day usually they teach you how to do research and how to explore the fundamental knowledge, and they give around 1 year just to learn the stuff that you need to do your research. So research is all about learning. So if you don't have fundamental knowledge in that area, you can certainly learn in your initial years. Then you can become an expert. Uh, but if you choose to be PhD in your bachelor's degree area, it will certainly beneficial and it will be easy. But it doesn't mean that you cannot switch the field after your bachelor's. So decision is up to you. And if any junior student is listening in second year or third year, if you like to another field than your current studying field, start learning now. Start self-learning now the things, and then you will have more extra knowledge. So don't think that your degree defined your knowledge. So you have to always to pursue for extra knowledge. Then degree will just a paper qualification, but you can always learn what you need, right? So then you can build some sort of, I would say, extra qualification on the area that you like to go. Then you can certainly apply for that area as well. So that is one thing that you can do. And if you like really like astronomy, as the comment question has mentioned, that you can study a bit more about astronomy, and then you can uh, go to the go to the apply for those options, and then you can get some extra qualifications, and you can secure scholarship for good opportunity at a top university. So that is up to you. It can be certainly possible, but it will take some sort of a commitment, but it is possible. So that is actually the thing that I have to mention, and it's a really good question. And yeah, so anything else that you can ask, you can ask. So otherwise, we can wrap the session. If you have any question, you can just uh, WhatsApp me or ask. Like if you have a question, you can just unmute me and ask. Like if you have no time, we can just move forward. I think I ran a bit more in the time, but yeah, organizing committee is over to you.
Yeah,
Is there a question?
actually,
Like
thank you. I think there are no any other questions. We are behind the time a little bit.
yeah,
So thank you, Sandushan Ranaweera, for sharing your valuable insights and expertise with us. We truly appreciate your time and contribution to our program and grateful for your involvement.
yeah. Thank you,
Uh,
thank you.
please